Hello everyone and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Stan Rattan, and this is the Blue Collar Wine Show where I try to help you spend your wine dollars wisely. And we've passed $125, 125 episodes. And you know, I've watched some other wine programs, and I remember one guy said, you know, he had to get past 100 before he really started gaining steam on his show. You know, I don't want to be that guy that puts out 2,000 episodes or whatever and still only has 4 or 5 views. Right now, you know, some of my episodes get a lot of views, some get very few. You know, maybe I'm still working on it. It's still a work in progress, but I think they're getting better. And you might say, why do you do these? Why are you putting these things on YouTube? Well, one of the reasons, probably the main reason, is that I really do enjoy helping folks find good wines. And what's the best way to do that? Well, you know, I work in a grocery store. I have a big following there. A lot of people come, you know, read my signs, ask me for good wines. I'm able to help them. And it really, really does make me happy when somebody comes back and says, you know that wine you picked out for me last night? That was so good. That is a big part of my life. I love wine. I love the world of wine. I love everything about wine. I love the whole. It's such a big scope of, it's such a big subject. There's so many things to learn about it, and I got so many things to learn. You know, you can't possibly, it's constantly changing. So you can't possibly learn everything. You got to keep studying, keep learning. But you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is that that's my passion. I just want to make it easier for you to find good wine. And to make sure, like I said, that you are spending your money wisely, whether it's $100 or $10 or $50. You know, you want to make sure you're getting your money's worth. You know, there's a guy, famous guy, Fred Franzi, you probably know him. He made what I consider a ludicrous statement. He said there's no wine worth more than $10. Well, that's easy for him to say. He buys bulk juice, he buys, you know, he gets the cheapest juice he can get, he bottles it, he arm wrestles people for pricing. You know, he takes advantage of wineries that perhaps are struggling a little bit, buys their juice, puts it in bottle. You know, famous $3, $4 chuck, whatever it is up here in Washington now. And sometimes he gets lucky. You know, sometimes, yeah, it's true that, you know, he gets a wine that's really good for, you know, whatever, $4. And a lot of time it is just plain old crap. Hey, I'll be the first one to say, I like to find a great wine for $5, and when I do, I let everybody know about it. But there are wines worth more than $10 that are worth it. And one of the wineries I've discovered recently that I really like, that does not fall into the, you know, budget category, but I found them to be really good wines. And, you know, I don't know, it's just fallen under my radar, sorry. Obelisco Estates from Red Mountain. And now this guy, the dude that owns this, had a winery down in Napa called David Arthur Estates. They first released in 2000, I believe in 1997, and in 2000, the Wine Spectator declared them the winery of the decade. Well, he retired. Let's see, I wrote his name down. Yeah, David. No, I didn't write his name. I'm sorry. In 81. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm looking at my cheat sheet because I just looked this up not too long ago because I wanted to know a little bit about it. But Winery of the Decade in 2000. He goes to retire, goes to Gig Harbor, Washington, you know, gets the itch to get back in the wine business again, buys some acreage up in Red Mountain, and starts Obelisco Estate. Peter Hedges and his, I think it's his niece, Sarah Goodhart, Christoph Hedges' sister, are the winemakers here. And they released in 1997. Okay, that's where I got 97 from. 2007 was their first release, and Seattle Magazine called it the best cab in Washington State, over $20. That's a huge statement. Huge statement. Got a double gold in the Seattle Wine Awards. Well, I just ran across this winery, and I have to say that I am very impressed with the wines. I love their Syrah. What we have here today is a Cab and a Merlot, and we're going to start off right off with the Cab, believe it or not. I'll explain this one to you later. Obelisco Estate 2 Nefer 2010 Red Mountain Cabernet Sauvignon Cab Sauv Estate Grown. Now here's the label. This rolls in at $55, so we're not talking cheap. But the question is it worth $55? Now as you can see, these have the cork in them. They were open last night. I've already tried them, so I'm not going to say this is my first discovery of these wines. But I wanted to share with you how I feel about these wines. Let's give the glass a little rinse. As you know, and I've said it many, many times, I love Red Mountain fruit. I love wines from Red Mountain. It's my favorite AVA. I put it ahead of Walla Walla, easily. Sorry if you think that's blasphemy, but I really do. I really think the Red Mountain fruit creates some fantastic wines. I love them. I like Walla Walla, don't get me wrong. Like Horse Heaven Hills, there's a lot of different vineyard areas. DeBrule Vineyards, I love their wines. But Red Mountain just has a distinct quality that I really like, and that's my palate. Let's see what we get on the nose. So I get some oak, a lot of currants. Get a little coffee bean and tobacco. Red flowers. Now the thing about it, and I can't put my finger exactly on it, maybe one of these days I'll line up a bunch of Red Mountain wines by myself. I'm not going to videotape that, put you through that. But I'm going to line up a bunch of wines and just try and pinpoint the characteristic about Red Mountain that really strums my chord, man. Really hits the nail on the head for me. But a lot of it's that coffee bean, tobacco, red flower, earth, the earth of Red Mountain. It comes through. Let's see what we get on the palate. Excellent acidity, backing the fruit, good currant, tobacco, earthiness. Now it's not dirt, it's just like this really nice earthiness that comes through. Red currants, black currants, really good structure, very seamless across the palate. The tannins are very, very soft but structured. In other words, you don't get that real grip action that some of you don't like. I understand that. The red flowers come through. Now, the cool thing about this wine, what I like is it's drinkable now. Certainly would help to have some food with this wine, for sure. But it's drinkable now. You could drink it by itself, that coffee bean, tobacco, currant, cherry thing. But with that acidity, that structure of this wine, this would lay down easily 5 to 10 years, if you wanted to, just to see how it would develop. Is it worth $55? I would say yes, it is worth $55. I'm going to go A- on this wine. Love it. I decided that yesterday when I tried it for the first time. But now we're going to move on to their Merlot, and you know, I just can't express enough how good Washington Merlot is. It's just, to me, the best in the world. You know, I think the only place that rivals Washington Merlot, of course, is the right bank of Bordeaux. Sorry, I didn't mean to get so quiet on you there. So here we go, Obelisco Estate, Red Mountain Merlot, 2010, and this goes for $45. And it's really nice to see this whole sideways Merlot, anti-Merlot thing starting to wear off. Finally, thank God. But Washington Merlot has a lot to do with that, because people are starting to realize how good Washington Merlot really is. And you know, I often prefer it over the cabs. That's just me. Just a beautiful perfume, cedar, vanilla, mocha, cherries, currants. The nose on this is far more expressive than the Cab. I love the Cab. As you know, I gave it an A-. This has that tobacco, earthy, coffee bean. Maybe that's the flavor characteristic of Red Mountain. I have to kind of do an experiment on that. But needless to say, this has a Red Mountain nose. Just a lot deeper. That mocha vanilla thing coming through. Let's see what we get on the palate. A lot darker and more brooding than the Cab. Dark currants, black cherries, coffee bean, mocha, vanilla. There's a little hint of vanilla. There's good acidity on this one. Also, the cedar notes come through, a little bit of red flower action on this wine. This thing is like, it's decadent, but at the same time, there's nothing goopy about this wine at all. It's not a fruit-forward wine. It just has good, delicious factor, like a 10 in the delicious category. A little bit of grip action on the back end, but still smooth, silky tannins, very structured, good layers on this wine. A little toastiness on the back end, no doubt because of the oak, but this is far from over oak. Good acidity, good balance, like its brother Cab there. It is an excellent wine, and this again would age nicely. I wouldn't go 10 years on this one, probably next 5 to 8 years. This one would age nicely because it has that nice brightness to it. Both of them are excellent food wines, but you know, you can enjoy them by themselves. I know a lot of you like to do that. We call that cocktail wines. In other words, just by itself. You can drink those by itself. Is it worth $45? Yes. I'm going A on this wine. You know, I know we can't always have super fantastic wines under $15. I would love, I would love to always be able to find those wines for you. And when I find them, I'm going to tell you about it. But if you want to spend a couple extra bucks, feeling like treating yourself, look for Obelisco Estate wines. They're fantastic. They're complex. They're well made. They show good balance. They show ageability if you feel like tucking a couple away to see how they go. Thanks for watching. And you know, if you want to make a comment, if you have, maybe you've discovered Obelisco Estate, or maybe you have a feeling about something, you know, how do you feel about what Fred Franzia said about there's no wine worth more than $10 when some of these wineries are spending $1,000 a barrel? How do you feel about that? Make a comment. I want to see how you feel. Do you agree with him? Disagree with him? Do you think $45, $55 is really way too much to spend for a wine? I want to know how you feel. Let me know. Cheers. And here's to keeping the snob out of wine.